Welcome to the lesson on the immune system. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how diseases are spread, what immunity is in different kinds, as well as using the ABO-RH blood system as an example of antigens. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Various ways in which diseases are spread. So you can have a droplet/airborne, so through droplets in the air or through the air itself. You can get disease by surface contact, fluid contact, or various vectors. Vectors are blood-feeding arthropods such as mosquitoes, ticks, or fleas, for example, that would transmit a disease from one animal to another. Immunity The basis of immunity is the blood's ability to tell the difference between self and non-self. An antigen is anything that can cause an immune reaction, such as to a virus or bacteria, a protein, dust, pollen, and even a splinter can be considered anything that an antigen would attack. All these things are lumped into a category called pathogens. Inborn immunity is when some antigens simply don't get into human tissue because we are immune to them from birth. However, there's also what is called acquired immunity. This is immunity obtained after birth, and there are two types. There's active immunity through exposure, including the use of vaccines, and active immunity is relatively permanent. Passive immunity, passive acquired immunity, is through someone donating their antibodies, including the mother-fetus relationship. And passive immunity is temporary. So active immunity is permanent, passive immunity is temporary. General immunity provides low levels of immunity to a broad spectrum of antigens. Examples of how general immunity is attained is through the skin, blocking out antigens, tears, stomach acid-killing antigens, histamine reactions, and pyrogen reactions. Specific immunity provides high levels of immunity, but only one type of antigen. In tomorrow's lesson, we'll talk about specific immune responses, and we'll talk about a whole bunch of different kinds of those. Next, let's take a look at the ABO-RH blood system. As an example of antigens. All genetic, ABO and RH blood types are all genetic, as we studied earlier this year in genetics, and involves the production of 3 proteins in your blood. They are the A protein, the B protein, and the RH antigens. Again, antigen is something that fights a foreign invader. All right, so for each one, we're going to talk about its US percentage, the antigens that it's able to fight against, and who can donate to it, and who can receive it. And we'll start with type O. Type O means that you don't have any A or B blood proteins. And it is the most popular in the United States. 43% of the U.S. population has type O. Since it doesn't have any of the blood proteins, it can't fight against any of those proteins. So who can donate to? Anyone can donate to type O blood. Type O can donate to anyone, but only type O can donate to type O. So just to clarify here, anyone can donate type O blood, but can receive from type O, only O can receive from type O. Our next type is A. At 42% of the U.S. population, this means it has A antigens. Type A would be able to donate to type A or type AB. And type A can receive from type A or type O, since O doesn't have any antigen proteins. 12% of the U.S. population has type B. It has B antigens, can donate to anyone that has type B or type AB, and type B can only receive blood from other type Bs or type Os, again because O doesn't have any of the antigens, A or B antigens. Only 3% of the U.S. population has type AB, and they have both A and B antigens. AB can only donate to other type AB people, and they can receive blood from anyone. That would be A, B, or O, or AB. Let's talk about the Rh factor. As we talked about earlier in class this year, Rh antigens, Rh proteins, were discovered by working with rhesus monkeys. And rhesus monkeys begin with an Rh. That's how you spell it. Therefore, it became known as Rh protein. To be positive for Rh protein means you have the Rh antigen. And 85% of the U.S. population has the Rh protein. They can only donate to other Rh positive individuals, but they can receive from either positive or negative, because negative means you don't have the protein. Lastly, Rh negative. Well, if 85% of the population has the Rh protein, that means 15% don't have it. And to be negative means you don't have the Rh protein. So, no antigens for Rh, can donate to either people that are Rh positive or Rh negative, but can only receive blood from Rh negative people. Again, because you don't have any of the proteins to start with. Alright, so last thing I'm going to show you here is how do you figure out your percentage when you combine the ABO type and the Rh factor. Let's suppose we wanted to know what would be your percentage chance of having B positive blood. Well, your percentage chance of having B is 12%. Your percentage chance of having Rh factor is 85%. So you convert each of these percentages to a decimal. 12% as a decimal would be 0.12. 85% as a decimal would be 0.85. And you multiply them, and then you multiply by 100% to convert it back to a percentage. 0.12 times 0.85 on your calculator is 0.10. 0.10 times 100 to convert it back to a percentage, of course, is 10%. So 10% of the U.S. population has B positive blood. And that's how you determine that. You take the percentage probability of having each, multiply it, and then convert it back to a percentage by multiplying by 100. All right, that'll do it for our notes on the introduction to the immune system. Let's now take a look at this video where Hank will go more in depth on these topics.